So let's dive in to the beginning of the book, like the real beginning of the book. We started at the beginning talking about um, the foreword, the introduction of the book, and I want to make the most of our 30 minutes. Mr. Gons, what did you first of all you get through tactic one?
No, I got
Okay.
through basically the beginning of it. Um, so just kind of reading the intro. We talked a little bit about Tactic One with Doug last week.
Hmm. Yep. So tactic one, that's why I wanted to go to that because this book this is probably my favorite real estate book in
Okay.
publication, because it just really you can just chop it into the tactics and you can just read, and every single one stands really well on its own. So tactic one, get real, get right. It's about mindset and then putting that into action. I'm going to read a section from tactic one before we move to tactic two, because I think if we don't talk about it, it's a disservice.
Right.
So page 24, do you have your book in front of you?
I don't. I forgot I got to grab my copy of it.
No worries. I'm going to read it to
Thank
you.
you.
It's
Perfect.
like
Thank you.
we're we're good. There are three types of people who emerge when a market shifts. First, there are those that fearfully predict the worst and they are unnecessarily pessimistic. Second, there are those who hopefully wish for the best, believe they can't fail, and they are unrealistically positive. And third are those who respect the fact that they might fail, actively prepare for the worst, and strive for the best. These are the resourcefully realistic and are always the timely triumphant. They are matter of fact about the market and sensible about the situation. They see things as they are and openly acknowledge how they're doing. At the same time, they stay optimistic about the opportunities.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I love about that is like being, I love the resourcefully realistic.
Right. But isn't that your definition of an entrepreneur? Isn't that what you work with? That you look at
So
a situation as an owner, and whether you're an owner of multiple offices or one office or one whatever,
mhm.
isn't that how you have to look at your situation?
So I would totally agree with that. I would say that I work with entrepreneurs who are all three of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And I think that the key here for the concept of like how we're acting with a market that's changing is um is the overly optimistic. Those who are kind of riding on their prior successes are very vulnerable. And those who say, "Hey, this is the reality," right? Like we were down with Gary for the last couple of days. Gary did an economy conversation yesterday. Um, what's the interest rate right now for buyers? Allie, do you have any buyers right now that you're working with? How
She's
old is their
muted.
pre-approval?
She's muted.
Muted.
Okay.
I'm seeing my pre-approvals in the fours.
Yeah. How old are they?
Couple weeks, 2 weeks.
Okay.
Uh,
Right.
Are
So
they
if
going to
you're,
be higher now?
yes,
We're in the fives.
we're in the fives. We're running between 5.125 and 5.25. And I will warn you, I saw 5.75.
yeah.
So
I just received an offer on something, and it was the interest rate was between a 6 and 7.
Wow.
mhm.
So
So so what we were just talking about was the three types of approaches to a shift from a mental standpoint. There's those that are overly optimistic and underprepared. Those are overly pessimistic and not willing to look at the opportunities. And then there's those that kind of ride in the middle. They understand the risks of what's happening and the potential changes that are going on, and they're realistic about the opportunities that are there, and they are cautiously positive about what they can do with what's going on. So I reread that section from Tactic One because I think if we don't talk about that mindset every single time as we come back into the book, we we're missing an opportunity, because literally from the time we start this shift book till the time we finish, it's going to be a different market.
Mhm.
There is no way that you can see interest rates go from 2.97 to 5.75 without any other repercussions on the market,
Mhm.
right? Look at new construction. Imagine being under contract on a new build.
Oh my.
Material costs have been going through the roof, right? Appreciation and inflation are on a 7+% increase rate. And now you're about to see your interest rate jump. So you just got, you were buying a property for $500,000 on a 4% rate. And by the time it's done, you're hoping you stayed in your expenses and your interest rate went up by a point, like that. So if we're not talking about that realistically, as agents, we're not able to, first of all, it affects the way that our mindset is coming into the book and like the way that we read those things. And second of all, it also impacts our ability to work with our consumers at a great level. So, so today we're going to talk a little bit about tactic 2, remargining your business and expense management. So fun and sexy. So fun. So when was the last time that you guys took a look at your financials for your business to your team?
Every day.
Okay. Is that because you're stalking your bank account, or is that because you're taking a look at the ROI and what your money's doing for you?
I'm so sorry. That was a joke. Doug and I are, pretty much constantly in tune with that.
Mm-hmm.
And, we talk about it amongst ourselves, but not with our team, no.
So I'm going to read you. Linda, are you up to speed on tactic 2? Have you read up to page like 35, 36?
No.
Where have you read to?
Tactic 1.
Okay. I'd rather stay on tactic 1 and just kind of allude to what that means for tactic 2. Because if we haven't read tactic 2, we're not going to get very far on discussing it.
Yeah.
So let me just go back into tactic 1 a little bit. These are both short tactics, but I mean, tactic 1 is like 4 pages, but it is critical, because like, if you don't have that mindset of, okay, what does it mean that the interest rates are changing? What does it mean that the market is changing? What can I control?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What does my mindset need to be to look for the opportunity here?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have that mindset coming into it, then it could be very difficult. It can intimidate you that there's a shift occurring. It can scare you. It can paralyze you, or it could lead you to think that you have it can lead you into a false sense of security. I've been saying for a little while, and probably sound like I'm paranoid, but the habits that have been working in the good market we've been in are not going to serve us. There are agents with bad, lazy habits about lead generation, bad, lazy habits about how you list a property. Like all of that is Allie, are you saying that's you? Yeah. So bad, lazy habits and in a shifting market, that's not going to work. It's not. And the first way that you create change there is with your mindset.
Can I say something really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember, so I haven't read, I like started reading it and then life got busy and I was really good at making excuses for myself. So I'll own up to that. But what I really appreciated, I believe it was in the foreword, was the little graphic that they had of, in a good market, if you're doing about average, you're going to get average results, and like that's more or less okay. And then when the market shifts, those average results become subpar. And so then now you're going to start freaking out. But if you realize that, when the market shifts, that you do have to work harder, that there is like that aspect, like times get tough. And so then you do have to, you have to be willing to put in that extra work. So then you can continue to get at least the same results. And so I
Yeah.
thought that, you know, I'm a visual person, so I really appreciated the little graphic that they had.
Mhm.
Definitely kind of relates back to what you were just saying.
Yeah. So there's seasonal cycles, and then there's like general market cycles. I think what you're talking about is the graphics on pages 10 and 11, where it talks about like those transitions and the factors that come into play there.
Yeah.
So and on page 14, where it talks about equilibrium, survival versus thriving, right?
Mhm.
The reality is, like, as we're looking at these changes that are occurring, right? So we just talked about interest rates. We can't control the interest rates, but we can control the conversations we're having about interest rates. We can control the way that we're behaving about, like, working with buyers and sellers, right? So if we're working with a seller and here's a great example, 2 little things you can do, right? I just asked Allie, as people were kind of floating in, you're working with a buyer. How old is the pre-approval that you have in your hand? If the pre-approval is more than 2 weeks old, we have a totally different interest rate than whatever they were quoted,
That's right.
right? So have we gone back to the lender and re-solidified those expectations? Because if we're showing them properties based on a pre-approval up to a certain amount based on a certain interest rate, and what happens if that interest rate's no longer valid and we're showing them homes that are $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 over their new budget based on the rising interest rates? How frustrated would you be?
Mm-hmm.
Right? On the flip side, if you're working with a seller and you get an offer, and that offer is accompanied by a pre-approval or accompanied by an estimated closing cost, and you see, oh wow, that's a 3-week-old pre-approval. It says it's good for 90 days, right? Let's call that lender. Let's ask, hey, have they done a rate lock? Oh, they haven't done a rate lock. Okay. Well, when's the last time they looked at what the actual costs were for this property with the new interest rate, right? That's how we can take a mental shift of saying, hey, this reality is coming, right? And start to put that into practice right away. Is that helpful?
Yeah, and you just touched on one of my questions about rate locks. Are they still doing them?
Sure.
Are they?
In some cases, they what we're going to see, I've been through a shift or two. I suspect we're going to see different lender behavior. We're going to see different pre-qualifications, possibly changing like the qualification requirements for buyers, and that will be a moving target. We're probably going to see some points to lock in. So hey, if you want to lock in at 4.5, which isn't all that great a year ago, but would be amazing now.
Yeah.
If you want to lock in at 4.5, I need 1 point, right? These are things we haven't seen for probably a decade.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's just something to start to get ahead of, right? And the rest of the book, like deeper into the book, it gets very specific about working with buyers and working with sellers and all of that stuff. Sorry, I just threw my pen down. It goes into detail about all of those things, but this is really just about what the book says, right? Tactic 1, get real, get right. Right? You got to get real about the market. You have to get real about your mindset about the market so that you can start to get right. On page 25, there's a quote that I really like. It says, be a low tider. Now, that kind of sounds crappy to be like, oh, I'm always working off the low tide. But what he's talking about there is be prepared for the low tide. Know that it's always a good time to be in real estate market when you take a long-term view of the market instead of getting caught up in the short-term volatility, right? The reality of interest rates is even if they're at 4.5, 4.75, whatever, that's still 2 points under the historic average since the 80s, since after the last massive crash. And So it's 2 points under that. My first house that I bought in 2008, my interest rate was 6.75%. Right. So if we see some volatility in the interest rates, that's like, do we still get the appreciation on the property? Do we still get to live in it? If we have to relocate, does it still give us shelter? Right. So being aware of kind of the volatility, but also still leaning into the reality of what you've got there. So one thing that I like at the bottom of page 25 is he says, write down and prioritize the necessary steps you must take to achieve your goals. Now you're focused on what you want, you know what you need to do, and you know what comes first. So what are you waiting for? That's the mindset shift, right? Putting that down and saying, okay, I want to write, you don't have to get fancy. What are 3 things I need to pay attention to in Q2 that I didn't necessarily have to pay attention to in Q1 as much?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just make a couple of notes, take it from mind to paper, and then you can move into action, right? So if it's like, again, tactic 2 is remargining your business and your expense management, right? So maybe it's just moving from casually looking at your finances for your business every once in a while to checking it every Friday and asking questions about your lead generation expenses, your operating expenses. Is there anything that you should be cutting or paying attention to, right? Are you earning, right? Because like you can't save your way to wealth, by the way. You have to earn. So yes, you're remargining those expenses, but also that what he actually says is remargining your business and expense management, not just expense reduction. It's managing your expenses. So sometimes it's replacing those expenses into other places. So again, taking the mindset shift of, hey, we're changing a little bit to action, which is, am I in a good enough relationship with my financials? Do I even know how much money I'm spending on leads?
Mm-hmm.
And are they working for me? Right. So the second part of tactic 1, since we're going to stay mostly in tactic 1, since it doesn't sound like we are ready to have a great discussion on tactic 2. But the second portion after the mindset shift is the action shift.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you guys?
Well, putting my mindset into action. So, you have a mindset of options, opportunity. Don't look at the small picture, look at the big picture. So, where does that take me? That takes me to a much more comfortable place where I can think more clearly on the things that might, come up today. So I think that mindset helps me move forward in my action shift.
That's really awesome. Allie, I don't know if you heard my question, but my question was, what does action shift mean to you? What does it mean? So it's like this, the first sentence of that section is, once you've gotten real, you've got to get right into action and into the right action. What does that mean to you and with the discussion we've had for the last 20 minutes?
I left the discussion for a few minutes, so I apologize. But like I raised my hand in talking about lazy ways because I've only ever known the COVID market, and it's been very easy to get a buyer or list a house. It sounds like that. I haven't had to do work. So to get my mindset around what's happening, what's shifting, and becoming purposeful in my action, that's my action shift, being purposeful in my lead gen, like actually dedicating lead gen, actually touching my database and making those calls and reaching out and having conversations and getting super uncomfortable and just putting it out there and knowing my data and prospecting and doing all of the things that I haven't had to do. But getting the mindset around like, this is what I have to do to make it through this next shift and, thrive, not just survive, and just actual lead generation business. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else just loved hearing that. I did. So with a shift, with any shift, up, down, buyer, seller, comes opportunity. And so you're talking about building a moat around your lead generation. The book definitely dives into that later, and we're gonna spend a lot of time on that. But I'm gonna give you some specifics. Right now, I'll give you one thing in particular. Okay. Does anybody remember in the foreword what Gary says is a balanced market time?
I don't.
Was it like a balanced market for, isn't it like 3 to 6 months on market or something?
It's actually 5 to 7. So pretty close to what you just said. So balanced market is 5 to 7. Buyer's market is more than 7 months, meaning buyers can pick anything they want because it's been on the market for more than 7 months. And a seller's market is anything less than 5 months. Have we been less than 5 months of market time? Have we been less than 5 days of market time? So we've been such an unbalanced seller's market that a lot of agents are not listing their properties the way they need to. They're not doing all of the right things. They're not being intentional about putting their sign out, making sure they have high quality photos, doing their listing rollout plan. Are you doing an open house on the first Sunday of every time you put a new listing out? Are you holding offers until the following Monday to make sure you have time for marketing, right? Or are you just putting a sign in the yard, getting it on the MLS in no particular order, and you know it's going to sell and you're going to have 8 offers and it doesn't really matter, right? The problem is that acting that way, because it's such an unbalanced market, you're learning habits that are not going to serve you when the market balances out, right? Once we get to 5 months of inventory, you're going to be lost. You're going to be like, oh my God, I put the sign out on day 1, it hit the MLS on day 3, and it's not sold. I don't know what to do, right? But if you don't have an intentional plan around the way that you're going to roll your listings out and be in control and get additional leads from your listings, which, by the way, is the golden ticket, right? If you're not thinking, how do I turn every listing into 2 pieces of business? Because if you let some co-broke agent sell it in 1 hour, you're not. You're putting a dead end on the amount of opportunity you have. So these are the opportunities that are about to come, right? That slowdown in the market that might give you a little tickle of fear in your belly is actually a really great opportunity for you to slow down and have control over your listings, and then get more listings from that listing and get more buyers from that listing, and buyers that you can actually sell homes to, not just drive around and do showings and write offers and have them burn out, right? A real balanced business can come out of this. So this is good, but that's just one specific opportunity that, Allie touched on that, right? Like, hey, my lead generation's been a little sloppy. Well, I believe that, right? Not calling you out. I'm just saying, like, I believe that there's a lot of sloppy habits that have probably come in the lead generation side. And one of the very immediate ones is the way that we're treating our listings, because we're not treating our listings like lead generation tools. We're just cashing in on the small ticket of getting it sold right away with multiple offers, rather than really striking down and getting the big ticket, which is getting leverage on that listing, getting multiple opportunities from it, and really, really growing a business. Are you a listing service agent, or are you a business owner?
Yeah, I love that, Joe.
So, and listen, I'm extremely passionate about this. You get used to hearing me talk about this. I'll be talking about this for the next quarter with all of our agents, because I am extremely committed to our agents succeeding, and thinking like business owners is the first step. And thinking like business owners across all of those types of things is a massive difference maker. What else do you hear about the action, right? Allie shared, thank you. Mr. Gons, do you have any thoughts? Yvette, I know you're probably sitting there all quiet like a little church mouse. Do you have any thoughts?
So I'm doing double duty.
I knew it. I wasn't going to call you out.
Yeah, but you know what Allie said was really key. In talking to Allie lately, I've had a big mindset shift. I was able to share some areas where I was kind of vulnerable, and areas where it was holding me back. And since I've made that shift, I got a listing coming on board.
Yay.
So yeah, definitely I've been a mediocre agent, I think. All throughout this whole pandemic time, all of my business has been referral. So I haven't had to lead gen a whole lot. So I got to step up my game.
I love it. We're here to support that, by the way. However, we're going to talk about it through the Shift book. So keep coming to the Shift classes and we'll hold you accountable, because the next couple tactics are going to get even more real than just the mindset. It's going to be, we're going to get into, we're going to do the financial, right? And then we go into, tactic 2 and tactic 3, that's what we're going to really, we might get off of the dates that we had originally put, but if we're not reading the book, I want to make sure we're having solid discussion based on the book. So tactic 2 is the financial. Guys, it is really easy to slip right past that. It's not a really fun topic for a lot of people to get real about their finances. I promise you, it is a very responsible thing to do. And tactic 3 is leveraging, right? Do more with less. Like, we were talking at Mega Camp about all of the tools and resources that KW has that half of our people don't even know, right? So I think we have an opportunity to go in there in the tactic 3 conversation of leverage and share some resources that will help us do more with less, spending less, right? Or having less time out, those types of things. Anybody else have any thoughts? Yes, Yvette.
So just one thing about the finance piece. After you and I met a little while ago, and I really had to sit down, and I've had some mindset shifts around my finances as well. Really trying to do more with less, eliminating credit card debt and, just things that are extras that I've been beginning to decrease. So I've had a mindset shift in that area as well.
Can I coach you for like 1 second?
Sure.
What lead activities can you control that will help you take that financial control?
I've been calling around expireds, and I've been calling around the older ones, not just the most recent ones, because I've found in the ones that I called, they've interviewed like 2 or 3 agents and didn't want to interview a 4th. So I've been looking at the older ones.
Do you guys hear that?
Yes.
A financial conversation led to her calling expireds.
Mhm. It's being
Because there's
proactive.
significance. Yeah, there's significance now behind that action. I love that.
Me too.
I love that for you. I love that for you. I love that for the impact that that's going to create, right? And one of the things we've talked about, and I hope I don't give too much away, is just the financial impact that real estate can have on all of us. It can create generational wealth for us, our families, and our clients and their families, right? That's a total difference maker. And so I love that those little actions, just picking up the phone and doing those basics, ties right to that.
Mhm.
Okay, we hit 101. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share as an aha from anything that we did today?
Just thanks for being there, Joe.
Yeah, thank you for coming in. I think the biggest aha is just what we've all been talking about, the market shift. Everything changed, and you need to deal with reality, not what was. If you want to include what was, how many agents were signing agreements on car hoods because we couldn't be inside a building? Not that long ago. So there's another shift coming. So we just need to be realistic. And I think the other thing is sphere of influence. I think there are people that need more help. They're going to say, "Oh, woe is me. I was going to get on the market and didn't." And we just need to calm them down and say, "Okay, it's not the end of the world. Maybe we just have to reevaluate what we have to offer." Maybe we have to be salespeople, not order takers.
Oh man, that's real.
Ouch.
That's real. I'm going to challenge that. Yes, we're going to be salespeople, but we're going to also be trusted advisors.
Right.
Right. because the more we know about this market and the more we're tracking the changes that are occurring, the better we're able to have that conversation, right? Like, we're not going to strong arm somebody into selling their house that they don't want to sell.
No.
But what we are going to be able to say is, hey, listen, your house might not have the same buying power at 4.5% as what's going to come at 5.5%. And so let's get it on the market while rates are still at 4.5%, and we don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So very, very cool. Jayla, you're missing the best, the ahas. We had a great call today. How are you?
I'm good.
We missed you. Did
I'm
you, sorry, are you there?
Yeah, next time.
All right. Doug's going to do a recap tonight.
Okay.
So anybody that wants to pop back in, I have my daughter tonight. So the last time I had her on a Thursday, I snuck in for a few minutes. So I may or may not hop in. But today we did a great dive into the mindset, get real, get right. And we're going to move into the tracking your finances and making sure your finances are tight. And then we're going to move into the leverage, do more with less. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
everybody. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Alana, for setting this up. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
We'll see
Thanks,
you.
Joe.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.